What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I'm here with someone that you've seen us review tons of videos of content in the past. But Makenzie, why don't I have you introduce yourself for folks who don't know and kind of tell everybody what you do with WotC?
Yeah, I am Makenzie De Armas. I am one of the game designers for Dungeons & Dragons, which, long story short, basically means I help make the books. A lot of the words that are in those books, I either wrote, I edited, I helped shuffle around the page a little bit. That is sort of what I do. I do the mechanics, I do the words, I make words sound good, I make mechanic work.
Sure, and you've worked, and obviously for folks, we're going to be talking about the Forgotten Realms now, but you've worked on several books in the past. We've seen you talk for videos and interviews in the past for a ton of other releases, so you're not new to WotC. You've been there for quite a while, I believe.
Yeah, I have 4.5 years. It's going to be 5 years soon, which is...
So we have two Forgotten Realms books coming out. We have kind of a DM-focused one and a player-focused one. I know, obviously, from what we have kind of seen already, the DM-focused side of things is going to be a lot of like gazetteerial information as far as lore, but then also a lot of kind of like one-pager adventures.
Yes, so the Adventures in Faerun, which is our DM-focused Forgotten Realms product, is sort of split in that way where we have these 5 gazetteer-esque like things. So they're a little bit thicker than like a short gazetteer. Okay. And those go into depth about all the different areas of these different regions. Like for the Dale lands, we talk about all the Dales. Mm-hmm. For the 10 towns, we talk about all the towns. And then we also have included both sort of setting agnostic and then also region specific. We have these a bevy of one-page adventures very similar to the ones that you find in the new Dungeon Master's Guide, or the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. And those ones are intended to be very much like pick up and play. They're very focused on like story beats and encounter based, and then basically give you guidance to kind of create that connective tissue depending on your campaign and your players' needs. I really like it because I think there's this it creates this bridge between DMs who love lore and love reading and prepping and notes, and DMs who really love pick up and play, who don't prep, who prefer to explore and learn about the world through play and through doing. And I think this is a happy medium between the two that feeds both play styles equally well.
So I know it's going to be obviously dependent on the player and the table, but like, if you had to round about how long you think these would like average one of these one-pagers would take at like sitting down to play.
Yeah, so I've run a couple of these one-pagers. They can range between, I think, like 2 to maybe 3 hours, depending on how role-play your characters want to be. Yeah, they're about like a session of play, I think, is how I've found when I've been playing them. And I've been very blessed to have very role-play focused players, and so we'll kind of get there's a one-pager that I really love that's a party in Baldur's Gate, and is the party one paragraph on that page? Yes. Has it taken about an hour of playtime because people really want to talk to people at the party? Yeah. Also, yes. But if your players aren't really social focused, then that would go really quickly.
Gotcha. So there's obviously, I mean, to that point, right, we've seen that obviously the front cover has a variety of just different characters that are very iconic to the Forgotten Realms. How does one take all of that and distill it down into anything that can be contained within a book? There's a lot. There's decades worth of content and hundreds of thousands of characters. How does one go about figuring what you're going to try to pack into this book?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I really love about this approach to the Forgotten Realms is this idea that we wanted this to be focused on your story. You're the hero. It's your book, your Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. You're not Dritz, you're not Elminster, but you can be like them. And so we have this sort of framing of like, here's what you need to know. But the Forgotten Realms, at its core, is built by the people who play in it, and the people who love it, and the people who write in it. And we want to make sure that we give you that base, but we also give you that headroom to explore and create, so we don't worry too much about like, well, this said this here, blah, 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 blah. Though we will provide those broad strokes so you can kind of fit them in. And if you're really passionate about a book series or a video game or something, you can slot this character in or alter the lore ever so slightly. One of my favorite things about this book is that there is guidance in the beginning of these products that talks about how you make the Forgotten Realms yours and how to approach the kind of fear of not knowing enough.
Sure.
And I think that's one of my favorite things in the book. It's this wonderful brief section that just really helps assuage those fears about approaching the Forgotten Realms if you don't feel like you know enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
There's
so much, and without a doubt. And I will say, I think a lot of the new DM tools from the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, from one of the books that have come out so far, are doing a really good job of coaching DMs to be, give you the information you need, but then also kind of provide you information to say, okay, if you don't know what to do, maybe focus on these things. Or if you have fears of one thing or another, here's how we can kind of assuage them. And it sounds like this is going to go to take that decades worth of content and make it more approachable.
Yeah, a lot of the goal for this this foray into the Forgotten Realms was making it approachable. Because I think that's I don't want to say criticism, but one of the biggest things that people bring up about the Forgotten Realms is trying to look at the lore. They'll get introduced like through Baldur's Gate, and then they'll look at the lore and go, oh God, what did I step into? And this idea of making it approachable and even sort of flexible with how the lore is really exciting, and I'm excited to see people make the Forgotten Realms their own, because I think that's really the heart of the Forgotten Realms, is like the games that are played in it.
And one thing that I think that's also really cool that you guys are doing is we have, I don't know if DLC is the right term to use for it, but like future content kind of drops, if you will, that are, we know of 3, we know of 2, but we know there's 3 coming.
The mystery third.
Yeah, but this is really cool because if you can't fit something in there, potentially this could open the road for stuff like this down in the future, that we have the book, but hey, we want to focus on a couple other specific things. Let's go ahead and make content around that, and then we can just go ahead and release that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think one of my favorite ways to sort of look at it is that, like, Adventures in Faerun, all of the regions that we explore are not only geographically specific, they're genre specific. We're exploring, like, eco-fantasy in the Moonchase. We're exploring political intrigue in Baldur's Gate. When we're looking at those upcoming digital releases, we're looking at even more specific, more genre specific, in a way that wouldn't fit in a large print product, but is also something that people are really interested. Like vampire fantasy, Asterian, flirty nonsense is a very hyper-specific niche, but it's a niche that people really like.
Sure.
And so being able to still explore it and bring it to life and really treat it with not the fullness it deserves, but like with like a wide breadth than we could do in a print product, because we are able to just allocate more space to it, to let it breathe more, is so exciting. I'm really excited for folks to get crack into Asterian's book, because I just think the bevy of content in there is so much bigger than what we could have offered in a print product like this, because of how specific it is, and the fact that we got to be so specific and so not silly, but so focused on Asterian and vampire hunger, like specifically. I'm excited for people who love that to get into that, because I think it's gonna be solid for them.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, it's great because this would be a paragraph in a printed book, whereas this can be...
It might be a sidebar of, like, Asterian exists, he's flirty.
Yeah, right. So this is, and like I said, I know some people, this may be different than what people are used to, but I actually think this is the better way to go, because you can give things the room it needs to breathe going forward for whatever it might be, whether this is... the future in some other setting, or maybe a return in a future thing to Forgotten Realms.
Yeah,
so.
I'm really pleased with the way that we've approached these digital content packs. I think people are going to really like them. I love being able to give this content, which is so fun to explore, the room to breathe and kind of stand on its own. And I think you're right in the way that we can do it better than we would be able to in, like, a print product.
Right. So let's talk about player-focused stuff in the Heroes of the Forgotten Realms. We've got a new subclass for all base classes. We've got new backgrounds, new magic, new feats. There's a lot to cover there, but one thing I wanted to specifically call out, because it was different from the Unearthed Arcana as I saw on the screen, Banneret from Purple Dragon Knight.
Yes. So it is not a subclass for all of the base classes. It is 8 subclasses.
It's 8.
There are 12 base classes. 13 if you count the Artificer coming out with Forge of the Artificer later this year. But we have 8 subclasses, so that's a wide variety of the base classes. But yeah, so the Banneret is what came out of the Unearthed Arcana process. So the Unearthed Arcana, what came out, what we released was an experiment with the Purple Dragon Knight. We had the version of the Purple Dragon Knight that was released in a Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and we decided, with Unearthed Arcana being kind of this public playtesting process, we wanted to experiment. We wanted to see what it would be like to deliver on a more dragon-focused Purple Dragon Knight. And so that's what we did with that Unearthed Arcana article. And like with all Unearthed Arcana articles, we got feedback. Sure. And there were things that people really liked about the subclass, but there were also things that people didn't really like. And that's fair. That's why it was an experiment. Right. That's why we wanted to try it. And so we took that feedback and we kind of shaped it. We also took what the Banneret / the Purple Dragon Knight used to be in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide and sort of compared that to the Unearthed Arcana version. We looked at them. We kind of merged them together. We took the things that people really enjoyed about the Purple Dragon Knight Unearthed Arcana subclass, which ended up being a lot of the ally support, the rallying aspects, the ability to communicate and rally your fellow players and be a really kind of support-based fighter. So we took those elements that people really liked of that Unearthed Arcana subclass, mixed it with some of the things that had come before with the one in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and now we have the new Banneret, which I think speaks to a lot of the things that people liked in the Unearthed Arcana, but also fixes and addresses a lot of the issues that people did not like about the Unearthed Arcana.
Okay. See that, and this is something that this has been. I like to see that because it shows that you're taking the feedback into consideration, and we're not going to always get now some things which maybe either people love so much and it just comes through. Maybe it's just a couple wording tweaks or naming changes, and you just get what you got in Unearthed Arcana. But it sounds like what we're going to get is going to be a pretty big change. So if you were to do a side-by-side comparison, you're going to see big shifts to where we land in the final product.
Yeah, you're going to see, so like if you want to do, if you compare them side-by-side, you're going to see a big shift. But if you also compare like the Purple Dragon Knight from Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, the Unearthed Arcana, and the one that comes out in Heroes of Faerun, you'll see the like shared DNA between all three of them. And I think that's the beauty of the Unearthed Arcana process sort of showing its hand, where it's like, yeah, we have all this public data and this play testing and this feedback, and we can marry it all together into something that really speaks to things that a lot of people love.
So, as speaking of, we talked obviously quite a bit about subclasses. As far as other content, feats, magic, things like that, what's kind of your favorite piece out of all that?
One of my favorite things that we didn't get a chance to talk about a lot is new spells. And this is separate from Circle Magic, which I'm sure folks have talked at length about. But they're just straight up new spells in Heroes of Faerun. And one of the fun things that I got to do personally while working on this book was I got to delve deep into Forgotten Realms lore and look at historical spells from Faerun and from the setting, from 3rd edition and beyond, and look and see like which ones like caught my interest, which ones would work in 5e, which ones are just plain fun. Sure. And like, oh, I don't know what this does or what it could do, but I'm gonna make it work because it's cool. And I got to do this huge deep dive into the past and really get to honor not only these cool spells, but also iconic characters like Illustriel and Elminster. Sure. And so they have named spells in the book now. So there's Elminster spells, there's Illustriel spells, there's Laeral spells. We also got to bring back like classics like the Sinister Dwemer.
Yeah, saw that in
Game Informer. Game Informer, yeah, the Sinister Dwemer is back. I will never be able to pronounce it correctly, but that one was such a fun challenge to bring back because it was so iconic to the Forgotten Realms, and I wanted to bring it back, and so sort of tweaking it and working it so that way the core of the spell stays the same while it works, and the ease of work is good for 5th edition was such a fun thing. And so I'm so excited for people to get into those new spells. I think there's some really fun utility and some fun callbacks in there as well.
So, well, we're coming up here on time for this. What other things would you like folks to know about Heroes of Faerun that, they might not, or maybe just something you really want to highlight because it's your favorite thing, aside from obviously just the new spells?
Yeah, I think Heroes of Faerun is such a wonderful bevy of player options that are so specific to Faerun, but also can be explored and enjoyed by people who aren't familiar with the Forgotten Realms. Like, you can take the Blade Singer and put it in a different setting. You can take the Winter Walker and put it in another setting. And I really encourage people to look at this book and explore the narrative possibilities and get really excited about the characters they can build, whether they are connected and use that connective tissue from Faerun, or they decide to take these elements of Faerun and adapt it and make it their own. Because that's the nature of the Forgotten Realms as a setting, and also the nature of D&D as a whole.
Well, thank you, Makenzie. I really appreciate it. More to come on Here's the Forgotten Realms, and of all Forgotten Realms content here in the next couple months. So,
all right.
thank you.
Thank you so much.